Hello and welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that takes F1's backmarker teams from 2010 all the way through to the present day, whenever that may be. And it is time for Suzuka, a circuit that I think a lot of people really, really love, despite the fact it doesn't necessarily always produce the most exciting of racing. It's a proper old school track, is Suzuka. But it's one that I kind of enjoy watching, if not driving, so much. And we come here with Team Lotus, as you can see, by all the green and yellow ahead. And normally, I'd say at this point, it's a desperate hunt for some points. However, oh boy, did we have our day of days last time out. I'm recording this a couple of days after the 2025 British Grand Prix, so we've all witnessed a day of days with Nico Hülkenberg, and quite frankly, this is my day of days, or it was, in Singapore. You'll see what I mean just a second. As we look at the standings, we've moved to 16th from 19th, which isn't a massive jump, but you can see we've got 12 points on the board. We finished 4th on the streets of Marina Bay, while the top 7, I think, in the championship all retired. Michael Schumacher took a victory, and the podium was completed by Jaime Alguersuari and Paul de Resta. That's how mad Singapore was. We were followed home by the likes of Heidfeld and Petrov, Kobayashi, Perez, Maldonado was, I think, in the points in the end, possibly. It was quite the Grand Prix. So we're now 16th with 12 points, ahead of Adrian Sutil, Pastor Maldonado, Rubens Barrichello, Jerome D'Ambrosio, Timo Glock, Narain Kartike and Antonio Liuzzi and Jarno Trulli, all with 8 points. We're only 5 behind Buemi and 7 behind De Resta. I'd say everybody 13th up from Kobayashi, probably a little bit too far ahead. At the top of things, there are obviously no point changes because everybody up to Felipe Massa retired, so Vettel still leads by 10, who's 6 ahead of Webber, who in turn is 19 ahead of Button. That top 4 still mathematically in with a shot, as is Lewis Hamilton, but he's quite a distance back with Massa there 6th. Schumacher's victory catapulted him to 7th and quite a distance ahead of Vitaly Petrov. Rosberg also retired, so slipped to 9th. Sergio Perez picked up points. Alguersuari, as I say, picked up a podium. Heidfeld picked up points as well. There's Kobayashi, De Resta, Buemi and ourselves. In the constructors, that means we've jumped Williams. Sad as I am about it, as a massive fan of Williams, but also happy for Team Lotus that we have got points on the board and we have jumped an established team. Obviously, last season we finished, I think, 6th with Virgin Racing with 80 points on the board. Had quite the season of it. It's been getting stronger this season so far, but Virgin Racing HRT with 8 points. That's our obviously primary first objective, is to beat the other new teams. At the top, again, Red Bull, Ferrari and McLaren, nobody scored points, so they all remain status quo. Mercedes pull away from Lotus with their victory through Schumacher. Sauber, Toro Rosso and Force India all pick up points. We're 13 behind Force India. One more good result like that, and we might be able to jump them. But I don't think it's going to come here in Japan. As I say, it's a circuit I like to watch, but maybe not like to drive so much. I don't know what it is. I could just never, ever get the feeling right around here. And I feel like we're probably going to come back to earth with quite the bump after that 4th place in Singapore. From here, we go to Korea. Then it's the debut of the Indian Grand Prix. Then we move on to more familiar territory in Brazil and Abu Dhabi. And then the season's done. We are close to the end of 2011. And it's been quite the slog, Singapore aside. And I don't think Suzuka's going to be any different. But forecast suggests heavy rain in qualifying. And heavy rain in qualifying almost got us into Q3 in Monza. Got us into Q3 in Germany. Almost got us into Q3 in China. So there is certainly the opportunity for an upset. But before all of that, and all of qualifying and the race and everything that goes with it, let's head over to practice. And as we do, we'll talk about the 2011 Japanese Grand Prix. The 15th round of the 2011 season was held at Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix, and there was a chance that, much like many previous seasons, The champion could be crowned at this unique track, with Sebastian Vettel knowing that a points finish, or a failure to win the race for Jenson Button while he didn't score, would secure his second world title. The weekend didn't start particularly well for Vettel, not only ended first practice in third behind the two McLarens, but also crashing at the Degnas. Second practice will see Barrichello follow Vettel's lead by crashing at the Degnas, compounding a pretty miserable Friday for Williams, who'd seen Maldonado stop out on track in both the first two practices. Button would once again top the timesheets in practice 2 ahead of Alonso and Vettel, and the third session would be once again be topped by Jenson Button ahead of Hamilton and Vettel, while Bruno Senna crashed at Spoon, necessitating a red flag. Qualifying started at the familiar sight of the new teams dropping out, but they would be joined by Nico Rosberg, the German's Mercedes, suffering a hydraulics failure, meaning he didn't set a lap time. He would, however, start 23rd, as Tony Oliozzi's HRT also suffered technical problems and also wouldn't set a lap time. Home driver Kobayashi would end the first session in first, much to the delight of the Suzuka crowd.
Good job, it looks like we've got some great data, well done.
The other Sauber of Sergio Perez would suffer the same fate as Rosberg in Q2, meaning he wouldn't be able to set a lap time, being joined in the drop zone by both Toro Rossos, both Williams, and both Force Indias after Senna, Petrov and Kobayashi set times at the end of the session to squeeze into Q3. Only 8 of the top 10 set times in Q3, both Lotus Renaults electing to save tyres and stay in the garage. As the clock ticked down, Hamilton was busy adjusting dials on his wheel when Webber dove up the inside of the Casio chicane, catching Hamilton by surprise. Schumacher missed the chicane entirely, but neither he nor Hamilton would cross the line in time to set a final flying lap. It would leave Vettel to take another pole position, just 9 thousandths of a second ahead of rival Button, who would line up second. Hamilton would still hold on to third place ahead of Massa, Alonso and Webber, while Kobayashi would take a career-best 7th place at his home Grand Prix. Both championship protagonists made good starts, Button attacking Vettel around the outside at turn 1, but the Red Bull would cover, pushing Button onto the grass, giving Hamilton the opportunity to make the pass on his teammate. Button radioed McLaren, suggesting that Vettel should receive a penalty, but one wasn't too forthcoming. Further back, Kobayashi's great grid spot was undone as his anti-stall kicked in and he fell down the order.
You're fastest in this session so far.
Hamilton would relinquish his second place to Button on lap 9 due to what the team believed to be a puncture, though it was just heavy degradation of the rear tyres. This saw a flurry of activity in the pits as the front runners dove in, Red Bull pitting both cars on the same lap with just enough gap not to hold up Webber. Button's smooth driving style proved to be pivotal, as his tyres weren't degrading at the same speed as his rivals, and he took the lead from Vettel on lap 20. On that same lap, Hamilton and Massa made contact for the 4th time in 2011, Massa attempting an overtake on the outside running to the chicane. Hamilton moved across to take his racing line and clipped the Ferrari's front wing, taking off an end plate. Hamilton believed that the vibration of the wing mirrors was to blame, as he couldn't see Massa approaching. He did, however, immediately pit, but a slow stop saw him fall behind Massa and Webber, who'd got past the Ferrari himself. The debris from the collision resulted in a safety car which bunched the pack up. Button would slow through 130R on the restart and get away without a challenge from behind. Lap 34 would see the next round of pit stops begin, first with Vettel, and then with Button and the other front runners following in the next few laps. Everyone initially retained their track position in a net capacity. Hamilton, though, would successfully pass Massa on lap 38, while Vettel was balked by heavy traffic on his outlap, meaning he lost position to Alonso after the Spaniard stop. Schumacher had made his way to the lead on track after taking the prime tyres for a second stint and led 3 laps, the first laps he'd led since the 2006 Japanese Grand Prix. Vettel began to hunt down Alonso and attempted an overtake around the outside of turn 1 on a couple of occasions, but was reminded by the pit wall that he didn't have to win to take the championship, so he backed off and held third. Further back, a battle was brewing for the lower points. Sutil passed Kobayashi to take 9th with a few laps remaining. It wouldn't end there for Kobayashi though. Rosberg would then jump both Force Indias and Kamui, overtaking Sutil at Dunlop on the penultimate lap. Kobayashi ended up dropping down to 13th place. Outside of the points, Team Lotus would have both cars finish on the lead lap for the first time since their debut in Bahrain in 2010. Meaning this would be another record-breaking race in 2011, this time the record for most cars finishing on the lead lap in Formula 1. Button would take victory, ahead of Alonso and Vettel in third, which would be enough for the German to secure his second world title and second in a row, while also becoming the youngest double world champion. He was also one of only what is now 11 drivers to defend their title. Red Bull would also have Webber in fourth, meaning that they had now scored one more point than they did in 2010, though the Constructors' title wasn't officially secured. What can we do in the figure 8 of Suzuka? Well, as fun as this place can be to watch a race, I'm not particularly great driving it. I struggle with turn 1, the S's and spoon, never quite getting the angle of attack or throttle right. But there's heavy rain forecast in qualifying, and we've been on quite the run since about Germany, really qualifying better than you'd anticipate a lot, which could play into our hands, especially with how congested this circuit gets with the full grid. Let's aim to keep the momentum from Singapore up. Let's aim for Q3 and at least 10th place on the grid.
We don't need to push too hard in this session. We should have the pace to qualify easily.
In the garage then for qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix, and as you can see, it is raining, it is full wet tyre conditions, and that may bode well. Engineer Andy there saying, you shouldn't have too much trouble. We have been on a bit of a streak of getting either to the peak of Q1, 18th in Singapore, or further up through the sessions into Q2, and weather like this is only going to help us. Practice saw us in our normal spot on 19th for the most part, but I think we've unlocked a couple more upgrades which probably won't come into effect for the rest of this season. That should be a shame, but we got to get out there, we've got to get some laps on the board and see what we can do in qualifying 1 in Japan.
Sector 3 times are good, but you're losing time in Sector 2.
So, fastest lap in Q1, you can see the rain is heavy and we're actually not that far off Buemi. Spent a lot of this session so far actually further up the order, so having to get to near the end of the session and push for a lap is probably telling in the way that we take these first few corners. A few slightly chaotic entries into some of the S's as we head up the hill, and you may have spotted as well the arrows just flashing up on the screen, and we've got somebody not too far behind us. It takes 2 bites at the cherry to get on the throttle at the top of the hill, but as we head towards the end of the first sector, we're marginally up on our best time and up on Buemi through the second part of Dagna, taking it nice and steady and keeping quite a distance off the exit curve. Having to really lift off as we head towards the hairpin, keeping it quite tight to the apex on the inside, which is unusual in conditions like this, but able to get on the power early. Now it's the run to spoon. Get a little wide, touch the grass, but it doesn't affect us too much as we keep the throttle in all the way to spoon. Grass on the outside very nearly throws us off, but actually kind of works in our favour, manages to point the car in. A little bit of grass on the entry point to the second part of spoon, but we head up towards 130R, still pointing in the right direction. We've got a car heading up our inside, but 6 tenths up on Buemi and nearly 2 seconds up on our best time, so this lap looking pretty good. Managed to block the car out as we head into the chicane through Casio. Up and over the curves, we've not got long left, we managed to get the throttle down without spinning the car. Does this lap get us through?
You're in 6th place. 6th. Good work, we're through to the next session.
Not only are we through to the next session, we're comfortably into Q2. P6 in the end, traffic proving a major pain. But it was Mark Webber that cantered to provisional pole at the top of Q1. Yeah, we were running 5th early on, slipping back down the order, fell all the way into the elimination zone at the end of Q1, and finally got a clean lap in. And what a lap it was. That puts us P6, dropping out in Q1. Barrichello, Maldonado, Trulli, D'Ambrosio, Lutzi, Kartikeyan, and Glock. But we're going to move on to Q2 for something like the 5th time this season. In the garage then for Q2 in Japan, and it's still raining. It's not going to stop, I don't think, through this session. So we have a golden opportunity here to get into Q3 for just the 2nd or 3rd time this season. But let's get out there, try and beat the traffic, see if we can get a good lap in. The unusual sight of the second part of qualifying, and once again, much like the first session, we've been up near the front for quite a lot this session, and now we're on the bubble with not long left. But as you can see, it's moved to intermediate conditions, and we've made the switch with not long left. Really nice and tight through turn 1, unusually for me. Little understeering into the next part as we head into the S's. Just having to feather the throttle to make sure we don't lose the rear end. Managing to ride the curbs a little bit as well, without too many repercussions. As we head up towards the Degners now. Car looking fairly steady at this point, and we're a little bit down on our best time, and quite a distance off the pole time, but that's not our concern. We're now just trying to make it through. A little wide through Degner 2 on the exit, but not too bad. Not having to lift off quite as much into the hairpin as we did in the first session, just where the track's not as wet. We get out the hairpin after running wide through it, but the second sector during this session has actually been a bit of a weakness. We've not managed to get this one cleanly as we head into Spoon. Really slowing down, waiting to get on the throttle, really waiting and waiting and waiting, nearly too wide through Spoon. But we've got clear track, everybody else is in the pits, which suggests we're already through, but we at this point haven't really paid that much attention to that. We're 7/10 of a second up through the second sector, run a little wide through 130, way off the pole time, but again, that's not our concern. We're just trying to get through. A couple of bites at the cherry getting into the Casio chicane, but not too bad. We'll cross the line, knowing we're already through. And for just the 2nd time this season, we make it into Q3 by the skin of our teeth. We were running 2nd for a lot of that session, and then heard that the weather was changing, came in, decided to bolt on some intermediates and give it a go right at the death. We were down in 10th, but we've moved to P9, moved ahead of Buemi, Kobayashi, Sutil, Perez de Resta, Rosberg, and Sebastian Vettel and Nick Heidfeld all dropping out in Q2. Vettel down there, very much like Germany, I think it was, where he dropped out in Q2. If the weather is starting to dry, which it seems to be, we might struggle. But let's get into Q3 and see what we can do. Here we are in the garage then for Q3. Traffic hopefully won't be too much of an issue in this session, but as you can see, the weather is eased off a touch to the fact that now it's intermediate conditions. So we may struggle pace-wise, but let's get out there, get a lap on the board, see where we end up. For just the 2nd time this season, we're having to talk through a final flying lap in Q3. Already sat in pole position, but there's 40 seconds left of the session. A little wide through turn 1, but that doesn't seem to bother us too much or unsettle the car either.
Just 30
as
seconds
we head
left in the
into the S's. Everybody else still out on track, so we're still pushing because there's always the opportunity that they can take it away from us. Little understeering through the S's, really struggling to get the car turned in. But this final part, right at the top of the hill, we managed to get the throttle pinned at just the right point and carry the speed through towards the Degners. Just 2/10 down on our best first sector, but that's not too bad in these conditions. We send it round Degner 2, nice and neat and tidy. You can see everybody's clustered together up at the hairpin just as we enter. Knowing that they're all running in a line means that I'm suspecting their times aren't going to improve all that much as the checkered flag drops. Head out of the hairpin, on our way towards Spoon. car compliant, keeping the throttle pinned, the nose pointed in, and we're able to get on the throttle maybe just a fraction earlier through the first part of Spoon, but we lose a little time on the bump through the second part. Doesn't matter though, we've kept it pointing in the right direction and kept the car on track as we head down towards 130i. You can see everybody's still together as we're 2 tenths up in the second sector, setting a purple time as we go. Into the Casio chicane, brake heavily, keep it well off the curbs this time, apart from during the second part, and we'll gun it to the line, seeing that everybody's past the start-finish and we've already got pole.
Fantastic driving, fantastic! It's great to see a Lotus on pole after all these years. Well done.
I'm speechless, because we end Q3 at the top of the timesheets. We take pole position in Japan. I mean, I knew the weather would help, but I didn't think it'd be that helpful. Just the AI decided to go out in one long queue on their own, and yeah, amazingly, we come out in pole position. Half a second clear of Felipe Massa, then it's Mark Webber, Jenson Button, Alguersuari, Hamilton, Alonso, Schumacher, Petrov, Buemi, your top 10, but speechless. Speechless. Absolutely speechless. We are pole position for Japan. Let's get over to the race and see what we can do from such a lofty grid position. Here we are then in the garage for the Japanese Grand Prix, and as you can see, as you've probably seen earlier in the video, we took pole position in the Team Lotus T128. A monumental achievement. It means I think we match our best from 2010, which was pole in Canada. And it's the second time we've made Q3 all season. But the race, as you can see, is going to be dry, which is probably going to put a bit of a dampener on things. But we'll talk about the race after we've taken a look at the grid order. It was us on pole ahead of Felipe Massa, then it's Webber, Button, Alguersuari, Hamilton, Alonso, Schumacher, Petrov, Buemi, the rest of the top 10. Kobayashi is 11th ahead of Adrian Sutil, Perez, De Resta, Rosberg and Vettel down there 15th and 16th with Heidfeld as well. And then it's Barrichello, Maldonado, Trulli, D'Ambrosio, Liuzzi, Kartikeyan and Glock. And a pole position based, I think, mostly on the AI driving out in a big line of 9 and not really giving themselves any space, which meant that I could just ease off, fall back and have the track to myself essentially for qualifying, which really benefited me. But I know there are going to be places on this circuit that I struggle, first corner particularly through the S's and Spoon, which, you know, kind of key points to get a good exit for good acceleration through the rest. But I think I can't sit here with all good conscience and say, you know what, the target is to win, because we're going to fall back, whether that be in the pit stops or just through mistakes or just pure lack of pace. But let's try and aim to follow on from Singapore with some more points, even if it's just one. We're aiming for P10. See if we can hold on to the top 10 through this race. It's going to be tricky, it's going to be tough, but we're starting from the front, which always gives us a bit of help. So let's head down to the grid for the 2011 Japanese Grand Prix. There we are, pole position ahead of Massa. Our rival Maldonado 19th, and you can see Trulli next to him. One light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5. The hold was long, but away we go at Suzuka. We get a decent launch. And we'll just sort of get across Massa into turn 1. Very cautious through there. But Webber's already moved past him into second. Run a little wide there, but we get away with it. At least for now. Wide through the first dagger, but we survive it. A little gingerly through the first sector. One of the points of the track that I'm not particularly quick at is getting out a spoon, but we hold Webber off there. We'll cross the line at the end of the first lap in the lead of this one. I anticipate that Red Bull's going to come on the attack early now. Again, cautiously through turn 1. Too cautiously, because then through goes Webber. That'll be Mark Webber gone then. To try and stay around them for as long as possible as Massa goes to one side. Not sure whether that was Button or Hamilton, but whoever it is, they're sticking with me into the Casio triangle. We remain on the inside. It was Button.
DRS is now enabled.
On the power through turn 1 this time and keep Jensen behind us.
Button should be due a tyre change within a couple of laps.
DRS down here, but we'll...
Webber's really going for it. He's just put
Just
up a
about
new
the hold.
fastest lap.
Just about hold the position. Webber's gone, but that doesn't bother me too much, I don't think. The win was never on. This car not fast enough to compete. Tiny amount of extra speed I can carry through 130R seems to be sort of saving me down the start finish straight. We're not going to get too held up in the pits. That could be our downfall. But Button's fallen off the back of Massa a little bit. Had a little look into 130R, but sensibly backed out of it. Here we come. Massa carries on. Just keeping an eye over the rear wing, hoping we get out before we get held, and we do.
Exit now.
Fantastic. That's good for us. Button stayed out as well. Hamilton didn't. Hamilton was the one that came in of the two McLarens.
We've fitted you with a set of the auction tyres. Auction tyres. You have 2 stops remaining.
Hamilton's having a fight behind us.
Really well. 6 places up on where we expected to finish.
bit loose through the S's, going to compromise us a touch. Hopefully, though, we can pull a couple of places back from those that were behind us at the pit stop.
The Red Bull pit crew are preparing for a stop. We're not sure which driver it is yet.
Surely they're all in now. Well, they are. We are going to get beaten by a couple, though, I think. Or are we? There's Jensen Button. I was going to say we swept ahead of him into turn 1, but Hamilton's now got past us. Hamilton now into P2. We're still on the podium, at least for now. But Hamilton goes through as we trying to roll it through turn 1 to stay ahead of Jensen Button. Hamilton's jumped us.
The car ahead is running on the prime tyre. We have an advantage here.
As usual, the AI much more aggressive at the start of a second stint. As yet, Button is on the options. Going to third, but that's still
we think
pretty
Webber
good going.
Is going to pit sometime within the next 5 laps.
Considering as where we'd normally be.
You're faster in sector 2 than the car ahead. Sector 2, go for the pass. We've got a chance of taking another place here. Mix 3, mix 3.
Hamilton now released from behind me. It's flying.
The fastest lap of the race.
Still be in a podium position after the first set of stops. In normal conditions, it's not like much like Singapore, where we had a raft of retirements up ahead. Squeeze Button out to touch there. Certainly don't think we'll finish in this sort of position by the end, but we'll defend it with everything we've got for now. Give ourselves the best opportunity going forward. Plenty of bad weekends in 2011. Places that we enjoy driving and come into places we normally struggle. Seems to be having a much better time of it. But now I think under pressure from Schumacher, but it's as close as he's been.
Currently matching race pace. Good job.
Hold the outside, but then we'll run wide. Can we keep him behind? We can. There's a bit of contact.
The car behind has some minor damage to its front
Robust
wing.
defensive move there. Wouldn't be the first time this season, but we hold third position. Looking to 130R, that'll massively compromising. Stop him being right on my tail through Casio.
The pit crew are ready for you at the end of this lap. Pit this lap.
Thought he would have made a move down the inside there, surely. Oh, he will on the exit though.
Okay, we lost that position. Put some pressure on him and try to get it back.
Off the podium. Schumacher now all over us. Obviously one in Singapore.
Remember to pit this lap.
Little overshot through Casio, but we'll head on in. I think Button's in as well. Yep, few people in. Oh, we get held. It's happened again.
Go now.
And that'll probably be us out of the top 10 now, I think.
You're free to rejoin the track. The track is clear. car's got a new set of prime tyres on. You only have to stop once now. One stop left.
Seems to happen every time if you come in just behind somebody and at the head of your own little queue, you just lose positions by being held. We're now also being hunted by Barrichello.
We think that Barrichello is due to pit soon, probably within the next 5 laps.
Wide through Spoon, and there goes Barrichello. We gained a position there. I think somebody's
below
out.
Where we need to be. Find your rhythm and try to pick up your pace.
Barrichello attempts to block us into the Casio chicane. We'll get back past him. And we'll get DRS. Will we get anybody in the pits? We will not. We might have passed somebody actually, because we're no. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Barrichello goes round the outside of us, even though we had DRS. Maldonado spooks me into turn 1, and he's through.
You've moved down to 17th. Be aware, the car ahead has a puncture.
Somebody ahead of us has got a puncture. Like it's Maldonado, because he's not necessarily slowing up.
By our calculations, Kobayashi should be pitting in the next 4 laps.
There's Kobayashi, so at least gain another place back. He's going to sit with us through 130R. He's not going to make a move. Bohemia at bay through turn 1. Kobayashi's gone past Maldonado ahead. We run wide through Spoon, that'll let Bohemia through. I don't think we're going to be able to keep up with him. And staying this slipstream up to 130R. We should be able to go up the inside because they back off. We back off a little bit. There's a little contact, but nothing major, and we then absolutely ruin the Casio chicane. That means Bohemia's going to be all over us down here. P16 at the moment, both Ferraris out of this one. It's really not going to help Ferrari's Constructors' Challenge, and it's definitely not going to help Alonso's Drivers' Challenge. I think Webber's probably still leading this one. Vettel might not be scoring all that highly. Let's keep Bohemia behind us, not for long though. He says as we get latched together. Okay, yeah, we'll have to let him off there a little bit. Let him go, and I think that'll be it. I think this is probably about as good as it's going to get. It'll be a drop of 16 positions on the road. That miracle pole position was never really going to hold.
Stop sometime in the next few laps.
We briefly move up to 15th as cars ahead pit, but we've got to come in at the end of this one. Straight off the road, just to add to it. All over the shop there. Here comes Adrian Sutil. Sutil's going to go up the inside at Spoon. Well, cut him off a little bit. It's not going to matter too much. We've got to come in.
Don't forget, pit in this lap.
Heavily into the Casio chicane and take the car into the pits. Way ahead of our fellow backmarker teams, so we're not going to get beaten by them. It looks like we'll get beaten by Maldonado, right?
Go.
Are we going to finish a lap down?
The track is clear. Track is clear.
Maybe not, actually, looking at the track map, although
You have no
it's
more
obviously a
scheduled pit
figure eight.
stops, so
So
look after your
it's a little
tyres.
bit confusing trying to track everyone with the different shades for each sector, but I don't think we will get caught, you know. Sergio Perez now the car in front of us, and Beckham and Maldonado are battling away. And it looks like that is the case as Perez gets back ahead of the Venezuelan. Perez is now behind us. I think Perez is out of this one. Buemi falls behind Maldonado. A few people in the pits, I think, because Maldonado's catapulted himself up to 12th. As we get distracted and run wide at turn 1, but we are P16 now.
We need to do better than a low 1 minute 34 to start catching the car ahead. Keep pushing.
Timo Glock appears out of the pits just as we head into turn 1. Means we've lapped one of our fellow backmarker cars. In fact, I think we've lapped 2. No, we have only lapped 1. Get confused then. Both Ferraris and Sergio Perez out of this one. So yeah, 21 remain. Well, for the first time this season, we'll finish 2 consecutive races the full distance as we start our final lap of this one. Webber should soon be coming across the line to take victory. A fairly comfortable one. There he is, Mark Webber. A couple more laps he probably would have caught us, but we will see our way round this last lap. We've shaved a bit of time off Sebastian Buemi, so unless he's got issues, we will still, I don't think, catch him. But we started on pole. Came into the pits second actually, sorry, at the first pit stop. Came in the second stop third, but then got held up in the pits, which meant that we went backwards. And then it was just a case of seeing this one through. Both Ferraris retired, Sergio Perez retired. That netted us a couple of extra spots, but normal dry conditions starting on pole was always going to be a bit of a death sentence. I'd hoped we could hold on to a top 10. Wasn't to be, Ryan Suzuka. But we will maintain our record of not being outraced or out-qualified by any of our fellow backmarker teams. We even lapped Glock, who's just behind us on the road, but we'll cross the line. P16 in Japan. Well, last of the cars on the lead lap. We finished 16th ahead of D'Ambrosio, Trulli, Liuzzi, Kartiken and Glock. Perez, Alonso and Massa don't finish the race. At the top end of things, Webber wins from Hamilton and Button. Vettel made it way up, back up to 4th. Schumacher in 5th, and it's Petrov, Sutil, Di Resta, Alguersuari and Rosberg. So points for a couple of the guys in and around us as well. Barrichello missed out on points ahead of Heidfeld, Maldonado. Kobayashi Bohemian, there we are. What does that do to the drivers? We remain 16th, but we're now level on points with Adrian Sutil. Ahead of still him, Maldonado, Barrichello, D'Ambrosio, Glock, Cartier, and Trulli. Liuzzi still with 0. Trulli currently on 4. 2 seasons in a row with 0 points. And last, I think, at the top end of things, Vettel now holds just a 3-point lead from Mark Webber. Alonso slips to 3rd after DNFing, and he's only 10 points ahead of Jenson Button, so they're still very much in the hunt. Hamilton moves further away from Massa, who's now being caught by Michael Schumacher, then it's Petrov, Rosberg. Perez holding on to that top 10, but he's now just 3 ahead of Alguersuari, who's on a bit of a run. Then it's Heidfeld, Kobayashi, the rest of Boemi. And there we are. In the Constructors, we remain 9th, still ahead of Williams, with Virgin Racing and HRT still on 0. At the top end, Red Bull extend their lead. They're nearly 100 points clear of McLaren, who are pulling away from Ferrari. Red Bull almost, I think, have wrapped up that Constructors for another year with 4 rounds to go. It's going to be quite tough for McLaren to catch them. Mercedes on their own in 4th, ahead of Lotus, Sauber, Toro Rosso, and Force India. And well, a little disappointed that we didn't manage to hold on to a point from our lofty pole position, but 4th place in Singapore and a pole position in the next qualifying session, I'd say is pretty good going for this car. Certainly been tough to get even close to that this season, so to actually do it 2 rounds running, if not in the same round, if we'd got pole position and finished 4th here and still finished nowhere in Singapore, it probably would have looked a bit better. But alas, it wasn't to be. 4 rounds left of this season, though: Korea, India, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi. So there's still a few more chances, I think, that we might be able to maybe pinch a point or something. But now we've got to be careful of Adrian Sutil, who's level on points with us and hunting us down in the Force India. But that's Suzuka done and dusted for another season. Thank you so much for watching this one. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the good stuff. You know the drill by now. Not long left of 2011. Hopefully you'll join me for the next one in Korea, where the lowest of bars, a DSQ, is all we've got to get to beat 2010. Look forward to that one. In the meantime, take care. I shall see you soon. Bye for now.